Hey guys, welcome back. Today I wanted to share with you 3 different dandelion recipes, each one using a different part of the dandelion. If you did not know, the whole dandelion is actually edible, and I've been doing a lot of research just because I find it really interesting that this was a very commonly used herb back in the day. Before the 1800s, many would actually plant dandelion, and apparently during the 1600s when settlers were coming over from Europe, they brought dandelion over from seed to cultivate in their garden for medical and nutritional purposes. When I came across this information, I was actually shocked to learn that dandelions are more nutritious than most things you grow in your garden. They have more vitamin A than spinach, more vitamin C than tomatoes, and they're full of iron, calcium, and potassium. Learning this information had me even more intrigued because Americans spend millions of dollars every year to kill dandelions. I don't spray anything in my yard as we speak. My weeds are just going crazy because they are flowering because I want to have bees in my garden. If you did not know, dandelions are actually one of the first sources for bees to get any type of pollen, so keep that in mind. One thing I bet you did not know is dandelions are directly related to sunflowers. They move their head along with the sun and they close up at nighttime just like they do. With all this information, I started to look up dandelion recipes, and just so you know, all the original videos that I personally watched are linked down below if you are interested. First, we will start with dandelion honey using the flowers. This is also known as poor man's honey. Then we will jump to dandelion salad using the leaves. And then lastly, we will be making a coffee out of the roots. If you're interested in any certain one, I will have the timestamps linked down below. Just go ahead and skip to whatever suits your fancy. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into making dandelion honey. So there are many different versions of this recipe, from syrup to jelly, and I wanted to do more of a syrup to get it more like an actual honey texture. So one thing is, people used to make this into a substitute honey because it was a cheaper thing to do than actually buy honey, and that's why it got the name poor man's honey. So to start making this syrup, you will need to pick 250 to 300 dandelion heads. That sounds like a lot, and I was prepared to cut this recipe in half, but shockingly enough, I had that amount and plenty more. If you make any of these recipes, just make sure you know that your dandelions aren't treated in any type of way. Once I got the dandelions collected, I came inside and removed the green bottoms by using a pair of scissors. From what people say, this can make it bitter, and it didn't take too long. Once I got it done, I made sure to wash them very well. Then I added 4.5 cups of water to a pan, added the dandelion petals, then also sliced a lemon and an orange and brought that up to a boil, and then let simmer for 30 minutes. After that cook time was up, I left the lid on and let it naturally cool for the next 6 hours on my counter. Once cooled, I strained everything really well and then added it back to the burner, where I added 4.5 cups of sugar and then let that come to a boil and then back down to a simmer for an additional hour. After that hour was up, I went ahead and poured it into jars and let it cool overnight. And this is where I meet up with you guys and give it a taste test. All right, so here's the honey syrup. I did let this sit for about 12 hours. Honestly, it's probably been a bit longer. Initial smell, it kind of reminds me of a lemon cough drop. I figured we would get some of that lemon citrus flavor since the recipe called for that, but let's go ahead and try it. That's not bad. It's definitely not as deep of a flavor as honey, but you get a very similar like floral taste. There's definitely like a lemony taste to it, but I think this would be really, really good in tea. Overall, I'm not mad about this one. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into dandelion salad. This was a recipe that actually was just really interesting to learn about because it got its name, obviously, because of its popularity during the Depression. Obviously, food was scarce and you had to come up with interesting things to eat. So I was like, all right, this one can't be too bad. For this, you want to harvest the leaves of the dandelion and wash. You will notice that I have some roots on these, and I will be actually using those in the next recipe. But either way, you want to wash these very, 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 very well. I also like to use Castile soap when I clean any of my produce, so I also do this here after washing them already multiple times. So once clean, I added the leaves to a bowl, juiced 1/4 of a lemon, added 1 tablespoon of olive oil, salt, and pepper, and gave it a toss. In this moment, I thought, wow, this doesn't look bad. And then, here is the moment of truth. I think out of all 3 recipes, this one is the one that kind of throws me off the most. Okay, yeah. Oh, that was terrible. Oh my God. Yeah, that's interesting. Definitely don't think I would eat this unless I was in a had to scenario. So that was terrible, and honestly, I got a little bit more skeptical about the coffee, but I went ahead and started to make the recipe anyway. One thing I found really interesting when I was looking up Dandelion coffee is it was really popular during Civil War times when the Confederacy didn't really have much of a supply chain. They would drink this. Nowadays, Dandelion coffee replacements can actually go for up to $30 a pound, and when I did this research, I thought this was absolutely crazy, and I am totally in the wrong business. But anyway, jumping into making the coffee, you want to get 20 to 25 roots. Once you have the roots, go ahead and give a pre-rinse outside just to get some of that extra dirt off. Once inside, of course, we are going to wash multiple times again. I also scrubbed off any extra dirt with this toothbrush that I have for these reasons. Once clean, I chopped them up and placed them onto a pan where then I put them in the oven at 200 degrees for 1 hour. After that 1 hour, I bumped it up to 350 where then I roasted them for an additional 20 minutes. At this point, my kitchen smelled really good. It smelled like sweet potatoes and vanilla. So I was like, all right, this definitely can't be too bad. Once roasted, I added 2 cups of water to a pan along with the dry dandelion root and let boil for 20 minutes. Strained, and here we go. All right, so I did just get done with the coffee. I will say it didn't make much coffee. I probably should have done more total, but I really didn't want to put in that much more effort, especially if I knew I wouldn't like it. So here we are. It has the same like weird bitterness that the salad did. It does have like a very roasty vanilla type of flavor though. But the bitterness almost makes it taste salty, which is kind of a weird combination. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this one either. Well, I felt like this was more of an experience than anything, and honestly, I don't know if I would make any of these recipes again. The dandelion syrup is not bad, but it's definitely not my favorite thing. I would definitely prefer honey, but if there's any recipe that you swear by, make sure to leave it in the comments below. I would actually like to know if anyone's ever tried a dandelion recipe before. Again, this was my very first time. I love digging into the world of things people used to do, what they used to make for medicine and all that type of jazz. So again, if there's anything I should know, leave it in the comments below. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching today. Thanks for joining. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.